It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Converse University head women's lacrosse coach, Coach Taylor Woolard. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college women's lacrosse?
Yes, so I used to do legal work and I loved it. And I was coaching at my old high school, my alma mater. And I just realized that coaching was something that I really loved and that set my heart on fire. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to kind of take a shot at coaching in college. I applied to a few colleges and accepted my first college lacrosse assistant coaching position.
What was it like, obviously, playing college lacrosse for Lynchburg College?
It was a lot of fun. Lynchburg doesn't have a football team, so lacrosse is kind of one of their like big sports, and it's a small Division III school that has just grown tremendously. But it was a ton of fun getting to play there, and kind of starting my career there.
Of course, what was it like starting your career there and getting to put on that jersey? And what were some of your accomplishments throughout your Lynchburg career?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, they lacrosse is huge there, so it was always packed stadiums, lots of culture behind that. My coach is super great man. I get to recruit alongside of him now. I've actually coached some camps with him, so kind of coming full circle from playing for him to now kind of coaching with him and recruiting with him. Um, but it was a super great year that I got to be there. We had a lot of fun.
Of course, who were some of the teams that you played in your conference with Lynchburg?
We were in the ODAC, so we would play Roanoke College, Randolph-Macon, Washington and Lee, um, Randolph College, so some of like the bigger schools in the ODAC as well.
Of course, coming out of college, what was it like getting into high school coaching?
It was different. Um, I think it was kind of hard to separate myself from the players. Like I would do this. This is what I did when I wanted to get to this level. And just kind of realizing that maybe not all of them wanted to play in college, but I wanted to be someone that they didn't have when I was going through high school.
How is it like, obviously, getting your first head coaching job as a head coach on the high school level?
It was a whirlwind. I coached alongside my old high school coach. And so when his daughters went to high school, he wanted to be like more present, be able to be at their games. So he was like, hey, we're going to take this over. This is all for you now. So it was a whirlwind. It was super exciting, just to kind of like be who he was to me when I was going through high school.
What was that like, obviously, coaching at your alma mater of your high school?
It was fun because I obviously have a passion for it. I loved Hanover, and I loved getting to kind of represent them and kind of continue that tradition of the lacrosse program. When I was there, it was a club, so we were with another school. And then after I graduated, they had a varsity and JV. So just kind of getting to grow that game and represent Hanover was really cool.
Of course, what was it like being the defensive coordinator for your alma mater?
That was fun. Learning how to coach and kind of being able, like I said, to implement some things, change some things. Getting to see that grow was huge.
What was that transition like from going from high school coaching to now where you're at now on the college level coaching?
It is just two different perspectives, because their world revolves around our sport when we're in college. That's why they're there. Besides, going to school and being a student athlete, like they come because they love that sport versus in high school, it's kind of like an extra thing that they get to do. Some are all in, some do it for fun, some want to go to college to play. So in high school, you had to balance that versus in college, that is why they're here. And the kind of the investment is a lot different.
Of course, what was it like coming over to Converse and getting your first head coaching job on the college level?
It was a dream come true. It was kind of crazy. Sometimes I still think it's a little weird to tell people like, "Yeah, I'm a head coach of Division II college women's lacrosse team." It still feels a little weird, but I definitely felt ready. I had taken over different roles in my coaching career before then, and just really felt like it was time for me to take the next step. And doing it through COVID was a little crazy. I wasn't really sure what to expect or if I was gonna have a first season when I first got hired, but it taught me a lot, brought me out of my comfort zone, made me a better coach. So I'm super thankful for it, but I'm so glad it's done.
Of course, what was that feeling like when you did get announced to become the new coach for Converse? And during the press conference, you heard your name being called as the next head coach.
Surreal. I remember getting the call and I um, just it was during like a big storm and we kind of didn't have great service, so she left me a voicemail and I was like, oh my goodness, like I gotta call her back. So I called her back and she offered me the job, and I just remember like we hung up and I just was crying. I called my mom, and this was just something that I had worked so hard for, like things I'd given up to be able to do this. Um, and it just felt like things were kind of finally falling into place.
What was that feeling like the first time you stepped on the field and you got to be the head coach for Converse and run the program how you want it?
We definitely grew a lot my first year. I kind of, like I said, I walked into the middle of COVID, so there's just a lot of unknowns and some questions, and that was super heavy. But um, being a consistent like investment for them was really important to me, and so growing those relationships and kind of figuring out what I needed to be to them in that moment in time was super important to me, but also a very big challenge. And so I'd say the first time we stepped on for a game, I was super nervous because I was like, okay, like you put all this investment in, like you've given them all this confidence, like you've changed a lot of things, and we won. And I think it finally clicked in their head um, that this was a change for our program. Like we were going to turn around and do some things differently. So it was really cool. But it was a lot of pressure and like weight at first because I just wanted so much for them.
Of course, going into year 3 and 4, what are some of the things that you've learned that you didn't know before becoming a head coach?
Oh, that is such a good question. Honestly, to be more patient and like pause with them, that is something that I have done a lot more of, especially this year. Our team is much, much bigger, probably bigger than it's ever been in a long time. And there are just some times where you think these, like, they know something and they don't. And just a different generation and remembering to like pause and think and ask is has gone a long way. Because we just think that they should know all these things, and in some parts of them they do, but they are trying to be everything to everyone. And sometimes we have to kind of reel that back in and like put ourselves in their shoes. So, as humbling as it is, just kind of pausing.
Of course, who are some of the teams that you face each week in your conference?
We have a really great conference. We are in the Conference Carolina, so we play Mount Olive, Belmont Abbey, Southern Wesleyan, North Greenville, Chuan, Emmanuel. There's a lot of other teams that are in our conference that don't have women's lacrosse, but those are some like ones that are around us, like within an hour.
Of course, what is it like obviously traveling to Barton College and Mount Olive College to get to play them?
Yeah, they're our farthest. Besides them, Barton, Chuan, and Mount Olive are about our farthest to go. It is definitely a mental game. I mean, we're traveling 3 or 4 hours. We don't usually stay. So like it's nice to have the girls have some time to either do homework or watch movies or bond on the bus. But it's definitely preparing them for that mental game of, hey, we're going to travel 4+ hours. We're going to have about 2 to 3 hours before our game to kind of lock in, get focused, stretch out. And then honestly, the biggest part is after you play, getting them through like that last quarter and getting on the bus and traveling back 4 hours and knowing that you got to get up either the next day and go to school or go to work or do whatever. So it is a part of being a college athlete and a college coach. Your schedule is long hours all the time, but the in between, like where the memories are made. So it's also the most fun you get to have too.
Of course, what does a typical game look like at home when getting to play against teams like Mount Olive and Barton?
Yeah, so if they're coming to us, we have wonderful game day managers that'll meet them, but we usually have the girls in the locker room probably like 2 or 3 hours before. We'll do a team breakfast. The girls will start braiding hair, getting ready, doing all of that. Music is playing, energies are high. They'll pick their sticks up, they'll stretch out. And about an hour before we go for warm up, we'll do our team breakdown, our team huddle, um, film sessions, our team prayer, and then we'll go out and we'll get ready for warm up. So it is a full day, but game day vibes are always super high around here.
Of course, as a head coach, what does your game day routine look like versus obviously as a player?
Yes. So as a player, I used to watch the film all the time, or I would, wake up and just like be in this headspace, like music and food, and just really focused on what I need to do and like how I can, give to our team. As a coach, I wake up, the first thing I do is like I text our group chat, like everyone's super excited. I take my dog for a walk, kind of get into that headspace. I might like pull my Bible out, do a Bible study before, just kind of remember why I'm here and my purpose and my focus of like how I lead this team. And then when we get there, like our assistant coach and I, we'll kind of sit down and go through our game plan again, maybe watch some film, just reiterate where and what we want to focus on, write our notes down for the game. And then we just kind of, we're there for the kids, keeping the energy high, the vibes high. Um, Game day is fun, but it's also, got to stay focused.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've built for Converse?
Yes, so that culture has been building for now 3 years. The exciting part is the kids that have been with me have kind of felt that change and that investment, and that buy-in, and they're super excited, especially to bring in 10 freshmen. They have felt the change in that, but really it's an investment to themselves. Something that we say all the time is like, you have to be all in. Whatever your 100% is that day, that's what we need from you. And changing that mindset to, I have to be everything to everyone all the time, to be, you just need to be present where you're at, and you need to give everything that you have, that you can give, and be a great teammate. Because the first mile is required, right? But the second mile is what you get out of it. And that mindset has shifted for a lot of our kids, and that investment has grown. And it's really cool to see, they're out there on the field taking shots, getting extra work in, wanting extra reps. And that's all you can ask for as a coach. But the outside of that is just the bonding that they've done, like realizing that when you invest in your teammates, your team then gets the full investment. And they spend a lot of time together, which is really cool to see too.
What are some of the things that you've accomplished so far in your coaching career at Converse?
So we have had the biggest team that we've had in a while. We brought in 10 freshmen, so that is one thing. But I would say just the things that my kids have done outside of lacrosse. Last year, there are 4 schools or for every division that won a community awareness award. And one of my players won it last year for all of Division Two. The first year I was here, we were top 5 in NCAA, awarded like top 5 for a community investment that we did with the team in our entire athletic department. So we have just done things that give back to those that give to us. We haven't seen as much success on a scoreboard as I would like to, and I think that we would like to, but we have grown tremendously in building this program, and that is like reflected in the kids that we have coming in and the recruits that are here in our 22 class and our 23 class. But I would say growing them as young women and like reminding them that they can walk in any room that they want to, and they deserve to be there, and seeing that translate to the field is probably some of my biggest accomplishments.
What does the recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play college women's lacrosse?
Yeah, so I would say if you're interested, you reach out to as many coaches as you can. Prospect day, clinics, fill out their questionnaires. If you're emailing them, make sure that you're emailing them with their correct name and with information and questions, and really get on the radar and be consistent. Like that's one thing for us that we look for is consistency, and also realizing that like you can't be too good to talk to one of our assistant coaches. before you talk to me. That's kind of the process for us. Like Coach Lauren is probably going to reach out to you and have a conversation. And when you apply, I'll probably follow up with that conversation, see where we're at, how we're doing, come on your visit type of thing. But the biggest thing is to be consistent in all platforms when you're reaching out to coaches, to be a part of their team, because that's probably what they're looking for in a player too.
Of course, what are some of the things that you look at in those prospective student athletes when you're out on the road going to their games?
Yeah, so I look at a lot. I obviously come and watch your game, and I'm gonna look at your technique and if you how many I will never know how many goals you score, but I'll know how gritty you are, or how many ground balls you ran through, or how you treat a teammate, or when something goes wrong, like, what's your initial reaction when you come out of the game? What's your body language? I watch you after your game with your parents. How are you reacting with your parents? What are your parents doing on the sideline? It is a whole package deal. So I would love to say that I only watch like great lacrosse, but I also want to see like what do you do when you fail? Because you're gonna come and you're gonna fail at least once when you get into college, and usually that's that transition from like high school to college. It's just different. So I want to know how you're gonna fail and what you're gonna do when you do fail.
Of course, on the official visit, what does that look like for those prospective student athletes?
Yeah, so we are probably spending a ton of time with our team. We're gonna go to lunch. You're probably gonna stay the night. It's been a little crazy with COVID. We do not allow overnight visits right now. So I haven't technically had a ton of official visits with our recruits as they've been here. But we make it a point to really give you an idea of what a day in a life of a student athlete is. So you'll be with some players, you'll go to class, you'll eat in our dining hall, meet with some people here, get an idea of like what's it like to be at Converse on a daily basis.
Of course, as a coach, what is it like seeing those prospective student athletes put on the Converse jersey and fall in love with the purple colors?
It's so much fun. A lot of this process for lacrosse is we've been speaking with some of these kids for a year and a half. And you get to know them and you love them and you're invested in them. So when you finally get that phone call that's like, hey, coach, I'm just ready to commit, it just fills your heart because I'm just so excited to be able to grow with them over 4 years and what that looks like and that investment with them. Um, so it's a really cool feeling, and like getting to watch them step on campus for the first time with the entire recruiting class. Um, it's almost unexplainable because it's just so exciting.
Of course, how is that feeling like as a coach, and even as a head coach, seeing them go from freshmen to obviously seniors and grow with the Converse program?
It is bittersweet. I took a picture at our media day with one of my freshman class that is now my junior class, and we take the same picture every year. And they put it take and that was my first year as a head coach to now my third with them, and they put it side by side, and it was just like it was so cool to see. It was bittersweet that I'm like, oh my goodness, I only have this season and one more season with you. Um, but how cool it is to see the growth and just the happiness in that and the confidence in them that has changed. That's what it's all about.
Of course, what are some of your future plans with the program?
I would love to win a conference championship. Growing the team to be, competitive and consistent in all aspects is really the main focus right now. On off the field, personally, but I would love to compete for a conference championship. It has been a long time since Converse has been able to do that and been competitive. Um, so I would say like, starting where our feet are is that.
Of course, as a coach, what is it like obviously seeing those players go on to the professional level, whether it's Athletes Unlimited or even play for Team USA?
It is really cool. We always tell them that lacrosse isn't always forever. For us, it got to be, but for everyone, it isn't. And so knowing that like your value as a lacrosse player and your value as a human are two separate things, and that if that's something that you're afforded and able to do, that you should embrace it and accept it and love every minute of it. But I'm just as excited to watch a kid do that as I am for them to call me and tell me that they bought their first house or they got their first job and they're just loving it, or going to weddings. We went to one in June, and we'll go to one in November for a former player, and that gives you just the same feeling watching them succeed in whatever their next step is.
What advice would you give those high school athletes looking to play college lacrosse?
I would say find your home, and not the one that's necessarily always the cheapest. That is an important aspect, but I would say find your home, ask the coaches questions, be honest with them. Like, you can go somewhere that always wins, and you know you're going to be a winner when you go there, but like, are you going to be invested in? Are you going to be loved? Are you going to enjoy that? Or are you going because you want to be a winner? And I would say really think through that. Like, when I talk to my recruits and I bring them on campus, I tell them it's like building a house. Unless you build a house, it's not going to be everything you've always wanted. There's going to be something you're missing from your house. And so build your house. What are 5 or 6 non-negotiables that you have to have? Then what are like 5 to 6? I really would love it, but it doesn't break it if I'm not here. And then maybe you add some like cherries on the top. Like, if it has this is amazing. But build your house. And if this school that you love doesn't have non-negotiables, be real with that. Don't go there just because they have this winning program and you just want to be a part of that, because that's not actually what you want. So be honest with yourself, be real in that process, because it is the next 4 years of your life, but also have fun.
Of course, what advice would you give those college athletes looking to play professionally, whether it's Athletes Unlimited or Team USA lacrosse?
I would say invest in yourself. Everything that you did to get to college, whatever level it was enough. And if you do the same thing and you stay committed and you do that, like, that is a really hard profession to step into. But if you invest in yourself and you have confidence, you'll be there.
What advice would you give those college players looking to go into college coaching?
That is a big one. Be the coach that you needed when you were their age, when you were in high school or when you were first starting out. And remember that it is hard to separate yourself from the player to a coach, that there are things that you would do that maybe they won't do, and that's okay. But we have to meet them where they're at. And if you're going to step into this, just know that they're going to need you twice as much as you'll ever think, and everything that you do, it matters. And there's days that you feel like you don't matter, and a kid's going to text you and tell you this little thing that you did changed their entire day, and you'll realize that you matter more than you could ever imagine, but that you're important, and that you got to stick it out on the hard days.
What advice would you give people that are looking to go into becoming a head coach on the college level like you have?
Oh, I would probably say that you're probably never as ready as you feel like you might be. That there are going to be days where you feel like you have failed, or you just don't even know what you're doing. But I find myself reminded that, like, I have a purpose here, and God intended me to be here, and I wouldn't be here without that. So just staying true to who I am, and what I promise these kids, and investing in them, and knowing that eventually that will kind of go to the scoreboard. But when you take this leap, it's not always going to be easy, but it will always be worth it.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media, along with the Converse University Women's Lacrosse Program at?
Yeah, so we are on Twitter and on Instagram, Converse U Women's Lacrosse. I am on Twitter, Coach T Woolard, and then as well as Instagram.
Thank you again, Coach Taylor Woolard, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as the head coach for the Converse Women's Lacrosse Program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Taylor Woolard, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, Share and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.